Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Hello everyone, you're probably wondering why I'm hosting, but Ben's getting married tomorrow, believe it or not, so I'm here. So we've got a cracking panel tonight, and Stu is on too, so hopefully you'll all enjoy that. Well, I've only just started, I had to get a quick bite, a quick jive at you, didn't I? So I tell you what, we'll go straight into it then, because it was another poor weekend and a load of crap from United again, wasn't it? James, what were your thoughts on the game yesterday?
Horrid result on it. Very bad result. I think performance probably didn't warrant that result. It's not very often you could say that in the last couple of months, but I actually thought it was a decent performance. Probably balance of play. We deserved a draw, but poor finishing. We've heard that before. Poor defending. We've heard that before. It's nice to watch a game and not be able to blame it on Maguire. Shows that the problems run much deeper than him. Very much a tip of the iceberg sort of thing. But yeah, there's not really much you can say. We made Arsenal probably look a bit better than they are. We've seen over the last couple of weeks that that early season hype, mid-season hype, has sort of overplayed a bit. They're not as good as we maybe thought they were. For us to match them proves that they're probably not that good. But yeah, bad result. Top four was over anyway. Just make sure we don't finish in the top seven now. No European football next season. Just throw the rest of it. I'd rather finish 10th than 7th. Just give Ten Hag a clean slate and let's work on it from there.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that. I think when Chelsea got the 90th minute goal today, I was a little bit disappointed. I really thought, West Ham winning that would just kind of help our season in terms of next year, because I'd rather finish 8th than get any kind of Europe at this stage if it wasn't Champions League, because it's pointless being in Europa League, and that Europa Conference League I really can't be doing with. So anyway, Baines, over to you. What did you reckon yesterday? Did you think... I actually thought we were probably a little bit better, but I still thought we were probably the next bar up from disgraceful, but we definitely made Arsenal look a lot better. And I know the referee was a little bit controversial, I think, yesterday. What did you make of it?
Yeah, to be honest, I'll be honest, I didn't actually watch the game, but I did see extended our highlights. And from what I could get from a few people online that I like to get sort of genuine, unbiased review on, we made Arsenal look good. They mentioned that Arsenal didn't really play that well, and we played into their hands a little bit. They defended a bit better than us, and they finished a bit better than us. Now that's not credit to Arsenal. But in some sense it is, because they just, on the day, they were better. I saw that a few referee decisions that didn't go our way. Again, it's that same controversial decisions by VAR and the people running VAR and the referees. I don't really get it. I agree with what James says, really, about I'd rather just finish 10th than 7th. Forget about the European football. We obviously know that Eric Ten Hag is coming in next season. So why not work on a clean slate? Have a week to train for games and implement his style. We'll obviously talk about the players and what happens with them in the summer window. But it's just a general reaction that it's just the same old stuff this season. Just same lackluster, poor performances, and it makes you question. Was it a bit of stroke of genius by Ollie trying to get those players working, and I wouldn't call it an achievement, but getting second and third weren't exactly. They don't look that bad now, do they? So yeah, I was just not impressed. Like the players, I've kind of switched off as well. I'm not really interested too much. The women's team and the youth team are much more exciting to watch nowadays, and that's saying something, So like for me to say something like that. So yeah, general reaction anyway.
Yeah, well, funny you should mention the youth team, because we're in the Youth Cup final, I believe, on the 11th of May. and
are.
tickets
Yep.
are only £1. So if you're local, if you can get to Manchester, get to Old
Yeah,
Trafford,
be a good game.
do try and get tickets for that and show the young lads some support, because that'll be a really good night out, and hopefully show some support and win the Youth Cup, which will be nice. But anyway, moving on. Marcus, what did you make of the game, mate? Good to see you on.
Good to see you as well. Long time no see. Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't really catch most of the game because I was obviously busy. But after I saw the scoreline at full time, I was like, yeah, it happened again, didn't it? But a lot of people are saying we did actually play quite well, bar maybe 1-2 players actually. I think Telles was awful just based on the highlights alone. Like Telles cost us big time. And then also Bruno missing the penalty was huge. And I think he also missed a chance at in Arsenal's half as well. So it seems like everybody else kind of played well except them two, I would say. And it's unfortunate, really, because looking at the top four race, I know most of us have emotionally checked out. I've said it before myself as well. I don't really care about getting top four. But at the same time, it is sad to see how we are still technically in a top four race, like mathematically, and still we can't get these types of results that we need to get over the line. It's like the universe is gifting us top four and we just refuse to take it, you know. And that's really sad. But you know, yeah. I mean, what else can you say about Man United at this point? What else can you say, really? So, but yeah, I agree with everyone else. I don't want to really see us finish 8th, but that's the only way to not get European football. So it is what it is. You know, I'd rather that than end up in the Europa League or the Conference League or something like that.
Could you imagine, but could you imagine Man United in the Conference League?
Could you imagine Ronaldo for United?
Yeah, exactly. How hilarious would that be? Well, I mean, not crazy. Hilarious, but you know.
To be fair, it'd be another Ronaldo. It'd be another record for Ronaldo. But the thing that worries me about the Conference League is if we do go into it, the PR team and the Glazers will try and spin something saying, "Oh, if we win this, we've won the lot.
We've won it all."
I can't be doing with it. But I think we need to wait to the end of the season to come across that bridge. Hopefully we don't. But at this stage, I think it's a bit more of a waiting game than a hit and hope. But Stu, what did you make? I'm sure you'll have some thoughts. One thing really caught my eye about Diogo Dalot on that game yesterday. Just wondering if you're allowed to say it.
Yeah, look, I was probably in the minority because I did think we played pretty well for the majority of the game, and there was a load of glaring errors. And I think we both know, or all of us on the panel realise now, just what I was talking about the fullbacks and how dangerous the fullbacks are, which causes our centre halves to glide out of position. And unfortunately, Dalot and both Telles were guilty of that for most of the 90 minutes. For me, it was just one of those games where we created plenty of chances, plenty of opportunities. We had a head of steam for part of the game, and we looked like a team for part of the game as well. And then we conceded these stupid goals, and they were stupid goals. And, you know, there's a lot of complaints about VAR. I get all the complaints about VAR. I never wanted VAR, as you guys know. And yet, you can't hide behind VAR either. It happened to Everton today on a couple of occasions. It's happened to the majority of the teams throughout the season. And so I think for us, I think for the players that are out there, I still don't think they're playing to the best of their ability. I have said for months that they're not applying what Ralph has been asking them to do. And he came out and pretty much said it himself during his press conference, or the multitude of his press conferences this week. And so for me, I wish the season would end. I don't really care where we end up in the league. And I just think we need to have a clean start. And whenever that happens, I think you're likely to see in 3 to 4 years' time what people perceive to be Manchester United. But let me just go over something I've said before, and I'm aiming this at most of the modern day fans. Just look at the history of the club and you'll understand the cycle that we're currently in, because it's nothing new as this club goes. And it has nothing to do as so much with the Glazers. It's how our trajectory of the club has gone. You know, we've only had 3 championship winning managers in our entire existence, 5 trophy winning managers in our entire existence. You know, so you just need to look at the club, look at the history, kind of take a deep breath, really, understand where we are currently, and understand where we can be in 3 to 5 years' time. Anyone who thinks Ten Hag is going to come in and have a clean sweep immediately is impossible. Me and Cal and I think James were discussing transfers the other day. We were saying it needs 3 to 4 signings per season over the next 3 years. So we need 12 players for definite, but it's going to take 2 or 3 years to get them in.
I actually said more, I think, Stu. I think
you did, actually.
I think the consensus was at least 3 or 4, but I think I was a bit like a few more are needed.
And I think yesterday, I mean, I don't buy into players playing better because Ten Hag has been appointed. I think the players knew 2 or 3 weeks ago anyway. They would have known 2 or 3 weeks ago. I just think at the minute, they don't want to play football. The players want the season over. They want to go away on holiday and forget it. And you can't do that, unfortunately. You know, you've got to push on to the season end. So I was in the minority because I thought we played quite well yesterday. I don't want to go through the glaring errors because we know who they were and what they were. But Ronaldo as well on one point has got the goal of the season for me. That was an absolutely terrific finish. I don't think people realise how difficult a finish that was to be able to out-muscle 2 centre halves, bring it down and clip it over a charge in Ramsdale was absolutely dynamite finish. So, yeah. So I don't want to dwell on it really. Let's move on to Chelsea. See what we do Thursday.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. So I'll tell you what, it's my show tonight, so I'm going to do something different. Usually the presenters don't really get that involved. They just ask the questions.
Here we go.
I'm going to get my opinion across. I thought yesterday was better, but you couldn't get any worse than the Liverpool result. So it would have been harsh to have been worse. If it would have been worse, then we should have just ended the season there and then.
I think the result was worse, though. Do you not think the result was worse? I mean, we all knew we were going to lose against Liverpool, but you kind of had a feeling that we'll give Arsenal a game here.
Well, I think this comment here summed it up perfect. I thought we did better yesterday. It was a mixture of luck, missed chances, and poor defending. I'd probably add one more point to that. The luck thing, and I don't think the referee was brilliant, but ultimately, you can't go blaming the referee. I think winning trophies, and we had a lot of it in our most successful time, was luck was a big part of it. Injuries, your best players stayed fit. You did need your referees to be a bit more on your side, I guess. Not saying they were biased, but they'd let the game run. With a manager like Ferguson on the sideline, you knew that figure was there. But ultimately, Man United shouldn't have lost to that Arsenal team, and I still didn't think it was anywhere near good enough. Arsenal are not the 4th best team in this league. At this stage, I think it's kind of hit a point where nobody wants to be the 4th best team in the league. And the fact that that has happened over the past month or two just shows how bad United have been and Arsenal, because either of those 2 teams shouldn't have even let this be a top 4 race. That top 4 spot should have been long gone. One of those teams should have took it and said, right, it's mine if you're not having it. And they should have gone on a run. So it's a little bit upsetting, really, and annoying. And the fact that we're sat here going, we just want the season to end and I don't care where we finish, is kind of how mentally drained I think these players, these owners, the managers, and just every little thing about the club has kind of done to United fans this season. But anyway, let's go on to the main topic of the show. I think a lot of things need to change, and the first thing that needed to change was the manager. Ten Hag's coming in the summer, as we know. He's not making any comments quite yet about what's going to happen at United, but obviously every single journalist has speculated and said what the targets are going to be. So, James, what do you think Ten Hag needs to do to fix Man United?
Where do you start? It's probably not. To fix Manchester United is out of Ten Hag's hands, I think, realistically. He can try and fix what's going off on the pitch, but anything you do on the pitch is only going to be a temporary solution if the stuff off the pitch isn't also getting repaired. Like we saw with Ollie, we'd have a great 6-month spell, and then things would catch up, toxicity would come back in, and it'd just fall off again. So I think unless something changes out of Ten Hag's hands, it's very difficult to see a consistent improvement. But I think linking it back to yesterday, a positive that Ten Hag could incorporate, especially with no European football, is we saw yesterday that a team can be built around Ronaldo. I thought his performance was really encouraging. It was more than just scoring goals. He was involved in every bit of our moves. He was playing Elanga through on goal. He was getting some nice touches in and around the box. He looked a danger every time he had the ball, which we haven't seen in quite a while. He seems to be sort of drifting out wide and trying to get rid of the ball as soon as possible. I thought we saw a completely different side, which Ten Hag can build a team around, really. I think if you set up a team around Ronaldo, we'll see the sort of performances that we were expecting from him. Outside of that, there's a whole host of players that need to go. We discussed that already. Bring balance to the team. It's such an unbalanced team. You've built a squad full of players that have different styles, different ways of playing that's suited for different systems. And I think while difference can be good, we've shown that we really have just thrown shit at a wall and tried to see what stick, and it's really not working. So try and get everyone singing from the same hymn sheet. Try and bring in players for a system rather than for their name. It's all well and good looking at a certain player and how well he's doing for a team that plays a completely different system to us, but how's that going to relate to how we play? Stuff like that. I think we've done that for way too long. And yeah, it'll be mainly recruitment, which obviously Ralph Rangnick will help him with. Ten Hag obviously has a good track record for recruitment and developing, bringing a lot of youth as well. So yeah, positive signs. There's a bits he can do, but like I said, the long story short is it's probably out of his hands how you absolutely fix this club.
Well, I must admit, you don't get that kind of punditry on Sky Sports, throwing shit at a wall and seeing what stick. I do quite like that. I could imagine Paul Merson saying it, but he'd probably think that was a really good point, wouldn't he? Bainesy, what about you? What do you think needs to change? What do you think needs to be fixed? What do you think Ten Hag needs to do?
Well, a lot of things need to be fixed. We all know that. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to work that one out. But for me, I think the job is to fix Man United is bigger than Ten Hag. You look previously at other recent history in successful clubs. You have people above the manager, and I'm not talking about the owners. I'm talking about the directors of football, the data science, the doctors, the coaches next to the manager. They all work as a unit. You look at someone like, we'll take Jurgen Klopp as an example. He came into Liverpool and he used. Obviously, there was a whole team that were rallying up behind him. He said, "Okay, I need these type of profile players. I don't need these players at the club. Get rid of them. I want these type of players." And it was up to the owners, to the people just underneath them, to bring in everyone. So I think it's slightly bigger than Ten Hag. Obviously, Ten Hag needs to bring in his profile of players, and that's up to people like Ralph or John Murto, Darren Fletcher, etc., to bring those people in. First of all, what he needs to do is he needs to get a hold of the dressing room. And I know a lot of managers, they tend to sort of leave the dressing room and let it run themselves. But I feel like now that you can't really do that with this group of players. Someone needs to go in there and grab hold of it. Whether he relies on, maybe when he comes in, he has a chat with the senior players, maybe Harry Maguire, if he's going to be the captain, and say, look, there's a lot of leaks coming through the dressing room, all this unrest and everything. Get hold of him and go, right, I need you to sort this out, because that's how I'm not going to run this squad. That's not how I'm going to run this dressing room. Of course, the players that don't want to be here should go. We've listed 8 or 9 free agents that are going to be in the summer. You've got your Matic, Mata, Lingard, Pogba, Bailly, Jones. These are all just players that haven't really played at all. Some of them haven't really played at all this season. They need to go. You bring in fresh faces. You can look at youth for recruitment as well. So yeah, I mean, to say that what to do for Eric Ten Hag to fix United is the job's far too bigger. It's far too big for him. Of course, he needs to work with everyone above him to say, right, I don't need these players. I need these players, and go from there. But the first start really is to get, I think anyway, is to get hold of the players that he wants and say to the board, right, I don't need these lot. So there's not even a point of you having them employed and get rid. Doesn't matter if you just cut your losses. Doesn't matter whatever they go for. Just to send off. But that's up to the board and the powers to be.
Yeah, at this stage, hopefully they're getting rid of no matter what. I think that could happen, but ultimately I think that comes down to the business decision of the Glazers, doesn't it? I don't know if that will happen. I think when we look at, Harry Maguire is the perfect example of the £80 million signing. If he was 30 million, I don't think anyone would bat an eyelid at Maguire. And it's going to hit a stage where, if he does end up leaving, how much of a loss can we actually accept on him? Because United are still a business in some way, and the Glazers are going to look at it like that, unfortunately. So it is something to bear in mind, I think. Just a quick one as well. Reese, who does the Man United podcast, he's been doing some Twitter spaces this week on the All for United Twitter account. Stu's been co-hosting. I've made a couple of appearances. I think James has as well. So if you do see any of them popping up, do try and join us if you can, because they're actually quite fun. Just gives you a chance to get involved with the guys who are part of the channel. Gives you a chance to just have a quick chat with us and get your point across. It's always nice to hear new faces, and who knows, you might end up on the YouTube channel one day as well. So that's something to bear in mind. Marcus, mate, what do you reckon? What needs to change? What needs to be fixed?
Yeah, I think when I look at someone like Eric Ten Hag, obviously I'm not one of these people that professes to watch Ajax or know a lot about Ajax, but throughout my life, I've always known them as a team that is built around youth, that is built around a strong brand of football. And in order to be a manager of Ajax, there clearly is a mutual understanding between the club and you that you're going to play a certain way. You can't just come and do your own thing. And so I think that's forced Ten Hag to be really, really good at developing players. There was even stories about how when he first came to Ajax, he brought people from the under-23 academy that he had managed at his previous club. I think he managed the under-23s for Bayern. I'm not 100% sure on that. Someone can fact check me, but something along those lines, right? So I think one of the biggest things, the only reason I bring that up is because at United, I think he needs to stop bleeding in the youth. I think it would be nice to see the likes of Hannibal actually get regular starts in the team. Yes, their development will be hindered by the fact that they don't really have the stability of senior players actually performing around them and people to look up to. But at the end of the day, we've got to start somewhere, So I would like to see him use the youth instead of use the same old faces we've been seeing over the last 3 years. I would like him to bring in a culture of ruthlessness. If you're not playing well, you get dropped. End of story. I would like him to have a bit of bite and try and go as much against what has been holding the club back over the last few years. Obviously the bigger things are beyond him. In terms of style of play, look, I do think some of these players have down tools, and no matter how much you try coach them, it's not going to do anything. But I would like to see him still try to religiously stick to that. I don't want him to see it to revert to a formation that suits the players. And I said the same about Ranić, even though he was an interim. I hoped that he would just continue to try drill his philosophy, and even if he knew it wasn't going to land him up anywhere, just to prove a point, kind of. These players can't keep getting away with the player power antics. They can't keep getting away with thinking that they're more powerful than the manager. And then beyond that, I would probably say there isn't really much Ten Hag can do, if we're being honest. There really isn't much he can do. So hopefully the fan base is patient with him, and hopefully we actually recognize how far we are from actually competing, because I've seen a lot of people saying, well, how come the standards have changed? I saw a tweet from Gary Neville, or a video of Gary Neville, basically talking about Ten Hag and how long it's going to take him to win. And I think he said 4 or 5 seasons. And people are like, oh my God, Gary, when did your standards change? Because when Mourinho and Van Gaal were here, you said 3 years. And I was like, hang on, guys. I don't agree with Gary Neville on a lot of things, but where we are now is different to where we were when Van Gaal and Jose took over. Where we are now is a team that hasn't won a trophy in 5 years. Where we are now is a team that has no balance, no spine, no stability, no leadership. So how can you expect someone to come in with all of those problems on top of everything that's been going on behind the scenes and have the same, time as Jose or Van Gaal, because when they took over, we were still relatively considered a very big team. We were still relatively at the pinnacle of competitive football. We had just sacked Moyes, right? Like, it was still fresh. So, people need to engage their brain and realize that this is going to take a long time, regardless of how much Ten Hag has under his control. Whoever the next manager was going to be, it was always going to be difficult. I think that's the most important thing. He needs to. I don't know how he's going to do it, because at the end of the day, our fan base is quite stubborn. But he needs to somehow build a good relationship with the fans. And I think the only way he can do that is by being brutally honest and not falling into the trap of the social media culture that's built up at Man United, of the apology essays and the cliche messages. Just come out, say it how it is. Because look at how people have reacted to Ralph. Ralph, after his press conference, a lot of people, I think, are starting to respect him, because he actually came out and spoke about what it takes to fix this team, and people are warming up to that, and I think Ten Hag should do the same.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with that. I think the one point that you made where the players are down tools, every United player needs to see this, but we all see that. We all will remember that. Again, you're down tools for Ollie. You've clearly done it for Rangnick and aren't listening. Like, we're not all stupid. And at this stage, there's only so many times you can blame a manager before you start going, wow, maybe we're the problem. And like McTominay said yesterday, they have to go and take a look in the mirror, because I don't think Ten Hag will put up with it. I think if they were to do it again, they wouldn't be there. And I think it's something for the players to definitely bear in mind. Stu, what do you reckon? What do you reckon Ten Hag needs to do to fix it? Is it bigger than Ten Hag? Is it just Ten Hag? What is it? What do you reckon, mate?
Well, I view it a lot more simpler, really, than most people, because Ten Hag's got to forget all the off-field politics, forget all the rhetoric that goes with Manchester United as a football club, forget about what happens at boardroom level, and concentrate purely on the team. And the only way he's going to have any direct kind of influence on the squad is to bring in players of influence. So you need players, not that go out and sell shirts, but can actually influence people in and around them. So you want a player that when he walks into the room, his dick's been there 30 seconds before him, like an Eric Cantona type of person. You have to have that type of person. And
What?
But just not one of them.
I'm not quoting that on Twitter.
No, sorry.
You've got to give me a better quote than that.
No, but anyway, I think you get my point in terms of stature.
I got your point, Stu. I liked it.
But you need 5 or 6 of those types of players. Those types of players and this is, look, guys, I appreciate there's a raft of different ages that watch this show. But back in my day, I've seen punch-ups and I've had punch-ups in changing rooms if there's been a disagreement, because that's how you win games of football. You have this winning mentality where you're willing to go that extra mile. And if you've got to drag somebody kicking and screaming with you, it's not enough. You need 4 or 5 people dragging other people kicking and screaming with you. There's an old training session that footballers do, and it's pre-season. It kills your legs, and it's the old centipede session, really. And you start off on your own, and then there's about 20 lads, and you end up dragging 20 lads up a hill, and it's quite tough going on your feet. But it's all about teamwork. It's all about making sure those 20 lads are walking and running at the same distance, the same pace, so it makes it easy for you to get up the hill, do your goal. We haven't had that for a while, actually, within the club. Jag Rupert, I'm sorry, mate, if I've pronounced your name wrong. Apologies. But he did make a point about Bruno was a catalyst when he came in and he changed the course of the season. He did, and he's absolutely right. But the way that the squad is at the moment, the way it's so disconnected as a group, a single player won't be able to do that anymore. So it's going to take the right type of recruitment, the right type of mentality of a player, somebody who wants to be there, somebody who's willing to put his life on the line for that club, because that's the only way now that you can win football matches today, in today's day and age. You can't, there is no escape anymore. There are no average teams anymore. We talk about it all the time, actually. We should be beating Burnley. We should be doing this. We should be doing that. But I say it time and again, a good set of pros is very, very difficult to beat if they know where they're supposed to be at any given time during a match and on the pitch, and how they attack together and how they defend together. It's called the pendulum effect. I speak about it a lot. And this is what we need. So Eric has got to forget everything else, burst the bubble, forget it, move his team, whoever he's going to bring in, and start from scratch with the right types of players. Now, does he go out and does he get Timber? Does he go out and does he get Frankie de Jong? Does he go out and does he get Ziyech, etc.? All the players that he knows? No, that's not what you do. You may bring Timber in, okay? You may bring de Jong in, but then you've got to look at what will those players offer to this current group of players if you can't get rid of what you've got. And if you can't get rid of the 12 players that we need, and you can only get rid of the, 6 players, then is Timber going to come in and make the difference? Is Frankie de Jong going to come in and make the difference? Is there enough around them to be able to help them make a difference? So my argument to that would be, no, I don't think it will. Okay, so this is going to be the key element. So my criteria if I'm Ten Hag is when I'm looking at a player, I want somebody, and I won't do that analogy again, lads, but I want somebody who I'm going to look up to.
Great
I'm
analogy.
going to say, wow, this is somebody that I want a part of my team. He can then influence not just the younger players, but he's got to be able to influence senior pros as well. And there's a big story about Wayne Rooney when he came in to the club, and he had a bit of a spat with Roy Keane in his first week because he knew he had to influence the team.
Jim,
he had to influence
I hope you know what that. Do you know what? Sorry to interrupt, mate, but I have to just tell everyone what that spat was. Was that the spat about the TV remote and the X Factor? Is that what you're on about?
Yeah,
just
what was the phone?
It's mental, that, isn't it? To just think that even then that caused such an argument. I love that. Go on, sorry, mate.
Rooney realised that he had to come and influence, because the only way you get respect in football dressing rooms is by influencing that dressing room. Are you better than a man sitting next to you? Are you going to make a bigger difference than a man sitting next to you? And only you can decide that, and only you can do that, and only you can affect that. So when he's looking at it, those are the types of players that he needs. I'll just go on one other thing, by the way, and I don't want to drag up the old captaincy nonsense again. But guys, the skipper in our team is the least of our worries. Honestly, it makes no difference right now. A skipper, people can talk about leadership, etc., etc., etc. I never paid any attention to my skipper. Couldn't be bothered. I was too busy concentrating on my own game. And that's what these players are lacking. Scott McTominay comes out and says all the good things. Go and look at yourself in the mirror, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry we've heard it all before. We don't want to hear it now. We want to see it. So we do need a sprinkling of stardust, but we need a sprinkling, a good, solid unit of good, hard pros. Promote 4 or 5 from the youth and, kind of put them in gradually. Don't just chuck them in, put them in gradually. And then build your squad, I think, of 22, not 25. Build your squad of 22 and give yourself a bit of breathing space that you can promote youngsters if you need to. You don't need an over bloated, inflated squad. If you get injuries, a club like Manchester United should have the talent beneath the first team. So do it properly. If you've got to get rid of the players, get rid of them. Have a smaller squad, but have a better squad. And that's the difference. And that's how I would do it if I was Ten Hag. And I wouldn't pay attention to everything else. I'd let Richard Arnold, Ralph, and if we get Paul Mitchell, they can take care of themselves. Concentrate purely and solely on the football.
Well, yeah. I mean, although you put it so briefly, Stu, I agree with a lot of that. I think the number one thing that the perfect thing you got there was probably he needs to concentrate on the football. I think he needs to go to the recruitment side and go, look, this is how I'm going to play. Give that to the scouts, give that to the recruitment, and say, get me players that will fit that. Find them, tell me who they are, and I will go, yes, no, yes, blah, blah, blah. That's probably the first thing. The right coaches to follow him from Ajax or wherever he's come from. That's another thing. I don't even want to mention the Glazers because ultimately that's just not going to happen. There's going to be no such thing as Glazers out. Keep the protests up. We all want the Glazers out. We all know that. Keep protesting. We always support the right to protest. But I'm going to solely focus on Ten Hag at this point. So, in my view, Ten Hag needs to focus on the football and bringing in his philosophy of style into the players. Seeing what players can do it, if they can. good. If they can't, sorry, goodbye. Bring the right players in, bring the right coaches in, and get the right structure above him. The very, very top of the club needs to get that bit right. If that bit gets right, then the bit below that gets right, like the recruitment. Get that right, then the manager gets it right. Get the manager right, the players get it right. The players get it right, we win football games. We win football games, we win trophies. It's a complete circle. If that all comes right, then great. The number one thing that we do need to be, though, is...
There's a but somewhere.
Well, but we need to be patient because that is not going to happen straight away. We need to be... we want to be proved wrong, but until we're proved wrong, we are going to fall back on our experience of the last 10 years. And at this stage, I don't think any one of us would trust the Glazers to get it right. If whoever is in charge of the football side gets it right, brilliant. So we need to be patient. That is the number one thing. As fans, no excuses. Let him do his job. Let the players do what they need to do and just support them. And give it at least a year or two just to see. If you can see progress, I think that's the number one thing that United need to be focused on. Progress. If progress is there, good. And then the following season, if it's got better again and again, and then eventually we get the right players and we're there fighting for trophies, brilliant. The progress was there. The decisions that were made were right, brilliant. So, like I said, my show tonight, so I'm doing what I want. We did have a little bit of a structure, but unlike United, we're going to not follow that. I saw a comment before that I wanted to ask the guys, and I'm just going to throw it out there, and you can all chat back at me. This comment from Aaron, and I'm not going to say sorry for pronouncing it wrong, because I'm sure that's how you say Aaron. Given how bad United have been this year, what would constitute a success for United next season? I think progressing the style of play to see that the players are buying into Ten Hag, and probably top 4 and a challenge for a cup. That would be brilliant success. But I think the first focus probably is getting the fans to like the players again. And
getting the fans to like the players again.
Yeah, and
that's quite the
building
way
a
to
better
put it.
culture at the club and a possible top 4 challenge, if we're to be realistic. Lads, what do you think?
I think that right off any sort of traditional achievements as targets, I think, like you said, the biggest target has to be reinstated some sort of stability in the dressing room, getting these players, sort of getting that squad energy back that was there. It was sort of the Villa game last season springs to mind. You know, there's a real buoyancy about the squad. It felt like there was a real togetherness. Just get that back, get rid of the negativity that we're hearing so much about. And then I think really for Ten Hag, the big target will be successfully implementing his style of play like consistently to a point where we can see what he's trying to do. We can see that in the long term it's going to work. A bit like Jurgen Klopp did, where it took a little bit of time, but gradually he implemented his style of play. Now we know it's not going to happen overnight, but if we can get consistent performances, sort of disregard results, and I think next season is a bit of a write-off as well. We can't expect too much, but just show the fans and show everyone that this is how Man United are going to play. We're going to buy players that fit this system. We're going to keep improving on this and take it from there, I suppose, because it's been that long since we've had a recognised style of play. I think even under Ollie, it was just counter-attack and hope for the best for quite a lot of it. That's when we were at our best. So just show that there is something to look forward to about being a Manchester United fan is the big target, and that would be a success for me. I'm not top 4 challenge would be nice. I'm not expecting a trophy of any sort, just positivity, because it feels like it's been so long since we've had that.
The rest, do you think, guys?
Just quickly, I think success, you can only really measure it after the transfer window, or perhaps see what the business that we've done. Now, we just chatted earlier about what needs to happen and players need to go and they need to sign. I think that will give us a big indication of what we would expect a success for the next season to be. Now, let's say, we get rid of 4 or 5 players, the ones that wanted to go, and we bring in a few and we recruit, blah, blah. Firstly, I would say, and it won't be a lot, I would say actually winning a trophy. Now, I'm not going to say that we're going to win the league or whatever European competition whatever that may be. Winning a trophy like the FA Cup or the League Cup is definitely a start, or even just showing that you can get to the latter stages of that tournament. This style of play thing, everyone seems to talk about it, and yeah, United certainly in the past sort of couple of seasons, it was hard to sort of differentiate between what the styles of play were. Like James mentioned, it was very counter-attacking. We knew we were a very good counter-attacking team, but when we come up against a low block, we did typically struggle. So success for me is bringing in the right players, getting in top four, getting to the latter stages of each tournament that we're in, and going from there. Because when you get into a final, it's a one-off game. It's whoever turns up on the day. We've seen so many finals where the lesser team, let's say, end up winning it. So yeah, getting the latter stages of the top four, latter stages of the tournaments, and a definitive style of play. But again, I think we can only really judge that until the window's really closed and see what business we've done.
Basically, I shouldn't have asked that question because it's too early. But
yeah, is what I'm saying.
Wanted to throw a spanner in the works. Marcus, what's success next season for you?
Yeah, I think when it comes to, the easiest way for me to measure success is basically the milestones you're taking in the direction you're going. So obviously the ultimate goal is to win the league, but we need to take steps to get there. One of the biggest pet peeves I have with Manchester United recently is that we drop points to teams that we should be beating. Now, upsets are going to happen in football all the time. There's nothing you can do about that, but you can certainly reduce the number of games you lose to teams you shouldn't be losing to. So I would love to see that. If Ten Hag came in and we were beating the Newcastles of this world, they're ninth, so maybe that's a bit disrespectful. But at the time that we played badly against them, they were in the relegation zone. The Burnleys, the Watfords, teams that are in the bottom half of the table, I want to see us put convincing performances in. And we're not sat here going, oh, well, if it wasn't for a penalty, and Ronaldo scoring a hat-trick, we might not have won against a team in the relegation zone. It would be nice to see us beat teams we're supposed to be beating. That's number one. Number two, obviously the style of player thing. You guys have spoken about it, so I'm not going to pontificate about it too much. And number three, what I would like to see is also, in terms of the transfer window, I would like to see I think a completely new 11 is a bit unrealistic, but I would like to see something different about the team. Whoever he brings in, I don't want them to, not feature in the team and not get the opportunities they need, and we see the same old faces. I want to see him really just rip the core of that team apart and try something new. That would be nice to see a sort of new identity in the starting 11, to see some new players that we can get behind. Yes, some of the old faces are going to be here, whether we like it or not, and it is what it is, but it would be nice to see some new faces come in. It would be nice to see Sancho still get a run in the game, because I think he's been one of our better players this season, so it would be nice to see us try build the team around him, obviously around Ronaldo as well, as long as he can play, etc., etc. So that's it for me.
Stu, I'm going to slightly rephrase my question to you then, actually.
Yeah,
because I've heard it twice, actually, this stream about building around Ronaldo. Do you think we can build around Ronaldo? Because for a long-term kind of future, is building around I get it's Ronaldo, but is building around a 37-year-old the best thing to do?
James's point.
I said slightly rephrase. I asked you a completely different question. But
that's fine. I'll answer the original question as well, because I've got a very simple answer to that. James is right in many ways. You saw a different type of Ronaldo, and you saw a different way of Sancho and Alanga playing with Ronaldo. And that was the key element to how successful we were with those front three, so to speak. They used Ronaldo better, and Ronaldo used them better. He has been quite stiff this season as Cristiano. I know he scored 22 goals in, 30 games, I think, this season, or something along those lines. And he has been a bit stiff. But the way that they used each other, the way that he was dropping deep for the ball, that's what you need a good centre forward to do. In fact, that's very much how Harry Kane plays his game. He will drop deep, he will bring in players, and then he will gallop into the box. And that's what Ronaldo was doing. But do you build a team around him? Probably not, because somebody made a great comment, and I was looking for it and I can't find it. So I think it was Apex, actually. But what he said was, he was talking about Pogba, his generation of player, And you have to move away from that and move to more the Sancho generation of player. And it makes perfect sense. It resonates with me, that does. So Pogba's what, 29 now, isn't he? He's in the latter stages of what could be called his career. Sancho's at the beginning. So whoever it was, and forgive me again, because I can't remember, it was a really good point that he was making. So I think what Ten Hag needs to do is bring in young and hungry players. You want players, as I said before, that fit what we want to do, fit his ideals, his ideology, fit how he wants to play, find a spearhead. But here's the thing, and I know we're going to be bringing him up, but I would use Bruno as the player to mould the team around, not Ronaldo. And one other thing, we're looking about success for next year. It's a very, very simple answer. You need to go on an 8-game winning streak. Okay, not an unbeaten streak, but a winning streak. You need to pull 8 wins out together. And when you do that, whether you do it at the beginning of the season, the middle of the season, or the end of the season, it gathers your momentum. It gathers a real push. It makes you as a player want to get up in the morning, go train, and you can't wait for the game. When you're losing or you're drawing and you just can't find that missing piece, which is what's been happening this season, you're not bothered. There's just something inside you that when you've got an 8-game winning streak...
That's confidence, though, isn't it, Stu?
Yeah.
Obviously, you
winning
builds confidence, and then you're excited to get back out.
Better as a person. And I don't recall, you guys might be able to tell me, but I don't recall us doing an 8-game winning streak. I'm not talking unbeaten, I'm talking winning streak this season. And if we had, that would have given us
definitely not this season.
Yeah, that would have catapulted us to where we want to be. So success for me, I thought it was Apex. Yeah, I thought it was, pal. Yeah. So to me, you do an 8-game winning streak, you are on the road to where he wants to be. So that's how I would view success. People won't like it. They will think it's got to be top 4. They will think it's got to be a cup, etc., etc., etc. Some people will say it's beating Liverpool, City, and Chelsea. Some people like Marcus think it's beating Burnley, Newcastle. I get all of that. But put all that into an 8-game winning streak, and we're on the right path.
I'm going to bring in Bainesy after that, but I just want to jump in and say I actually think that's a really, really good way of thinking about it. Because I actually, thinking about it, the last time I think we got a genuinely solid win streak was... I could be wrong, so in the comments, let me know this. But
it was Ollie, wasn't it?
It was Ollie, yeah, when he was 10th. So that's a big problem for me. And just winning games, because winning games, like you say there, Stu, it builds a lot of confidence. This comment is the first one that has slightly grinded my gears tonight. Obviously, we'd all want to win the league. But at this stage, as fans, we need to be realistic. It's not going to happen. We are, unfortunately saying it, we are a while away behind City and Liverpool at this stage. We've not won for however long. Just trying to win games at this stage is something that fans want to see. So I don't think Stu's wrong in that. Go on, Baines. What's your thoughts?
I agree with Stu wholeheartedly. I just wanted to touch on the Ronaldo thing, and I think you can build a team around Ronaldo. But what's very important about building that team around Ronaldo is we have to remember he's 37 years old. So when we recruit, we need to find a similar type of a Ronaldo. Now, obviously, look, I'm not saying that there's someone out there that we can go and buy and it's exactly the same as Ronaldo. Obviously, I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is what he does in the games where he's such a sharp mover. He's quick to think. He does link up play when he needs to. He can drift out to the left. He can drift out to the right. I'm singing the song now. And so what we need to do is recruit in the summer, maybe a Darwin Nunez. I probably butchered that name. But someone that we can recruit, and
gosh, it's not a Welsh town, Baines. Eh?
I'm sorry. I don't know how to say his name. All right, look.
I think he does sound a bit of a Welsh town, doesn't he?
So yeah, I thought like maybe bringing in someone like him who can rotate. Now, if we look at his Juventus career and we look at his latter stages at Madrid, he rarely played 2 games a week. Rarely. I know we can go back and I've had a look myself. He doesn't play. He plays 1 game a week. And this is where you get these performances. Now, it's not a coincidence where when he's played games and he scored hat-tricks and he scored a couple goals, he's had a good week to train, rest, recover. It happened at Tottenham, happened at Norwich. Obviously, everything that happened in his personal life. He didn't play midweek, so he came in and he scored again, and he had a very good performance against Arsenal. So, well, I say very good performance against Arsenal. So it's important that we get a striker in that rotates with him, because he is 37 years old. There is going to be a moment where it's going to be like, yeah, okay, the Premier League is taking a toll on him. Bring him out and rotate him in with someone.
Yeah, I agree with that, Bainesy. I'm not so sure about Nunes. I think it's Nunes, isn't it, rather than Nunez? I'm not really sure, but his touch is abysmal. That's his problem. His outfield play and his touch is very much like Haaland, by the way. Not good at all. People are banging on about Haaland going to City. The league's over for 5 years. His touch isn't great. I don't think he'll fit into the City side.
I don't think his touch needs to be great though against for City though, because I think the chances that will be created there at City for Haaland, it'll be one touch goal kind of thing. So I think he'll probably work for City.
I think I don't think he'll hit the heights for a season at City. I think it'll be two seasons in. A little bit rough, like Rafa Varane for us. I think next season we'll see the best of Varane. I really do. This season's not been his best. But Nunes, his touch is... Although, having said that, Baines, he's banging in goals for fun, isn't it, Benfica? So what do I know?
Yeah, again, it's that... I suppose it's that league, but there are some absolute diamonds in that league. There's a few that have come. Obviously, Bruno's been one.
Isn't there, over at Sporting? Concalves.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some absolute gems that have come from that Portuguese league, and you just think there's a few more there, and it's a bit of a gold mine there. You can just look at recent purchases. Bruno, Diaz at City. There's so many. I think Lindelof came. Didn't Lindelof come from the Portuguese there? I can't remember now. But there's been some absolute diamonds there. So I think he will get a big move. He's certainly creating the headlines in the Portuguese league. He probably will get a big move. I think there is some movement in the club that that United want him, and I think his agent is Mendes, so the same as Ronaldo's.
I'd have Vlahovic from a Juventus if we could. He'd be the one for me.
Yeah,
but we're not going to get him. So,
who, Vlahovic, was it?
Yeah.
I can't see that happening. To be fair, mate.
Absolutely, this season.
Yeah, it's
quality.
Yeah, it's been quite tough. Jose wasn't the best manager post Fergie, by the way. Just seeing that comment. That's not true. Ollie was. Anyway, guys, let's move on. So apparently Raiola has been in the news again today, saying all sorts of stuff as usual. No, he's not calling himself a complete twat, but he's been talking about his client. I'll paraphrase the quote because it's quite a long quote. It's not over yet for Pogba at Manchester United. The club still has an offer on the table, and Pogba still has 4 weeks to decide his future. He's not 100% sure if he wants to leave or stay, and he can stay at Manchester United for another 4 years. It's up to Ten Hag. It's not up to Ten Hag or Ralph Rangnick at all. If Paul Pogba wants to stay, CEO Richard Arnold will give him another 4-year deal. Pogba has made more money for the club in 6 years than what they have paid for him during his entire stay so far. He's a top personality, one of the biggest superstars in world football, and if United lose Pogba, they'll lose at least 50 million in annual revenue. Has Paul Pogba played his last game for Man United? James?
I'd say so. I don't think he wants to be here. I don't think Rangnick wants him here. Definitely, I don't think Ten Hag will want him here. I think he's probably a bit too old to redevelop his game into something that Ten Hag would want. I think the only thing that concerns me is Raiola's saying exactly what the Glazers are thinking. They're thinking 500 grand a week is going to be nothing in the however much money he earns us as a commercial asset in return. So that's the concern for me. Obviously, we know how good Pogba is. We know how good Pogba can be, but the ship's very much sailed now. I think mentally he's not with us. I think the relationship between him and the fans is beyond repair now, really. Obviously, I think he's a very good influence in the dressing room. I think he's very well liked. That's probably one of the things he still has going for him at United. But yeah, I think the ship's very much sailed now. I think it's best for all parties if he moves on. And I say that's the only thing that's concerning me is what Raiola said in terms of the commercial value he has, and the fact that the Glazers could not only ruin our next couple of seasons, they could ruin the rest of Paul Pogba's career by sort of making him an offer. Yeah, but they make him an offer he can't refuse because they know what return they'll get on their investment, and that's what's concerning me.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, but so Bainesy, after hearing that quote and seeing what's happened with Raiola, does it change your thoughts? Do you think Pogba has played his last game? Do you think it will see him in a shirt next season? Will he sign his contract? Because I actually have a theory on it, but I'll leave it until everyone's had their say.
I do like Pogba, by the way. I've always advocated how much he's been one of my favourite players since he signed. But I also did say last week that I'm starting to get a bit pissed off about what's, his demeanour and all sorts. I think he has played his last game. This comment just sums up Man United, and I think he's very clever what he's saying here. The part that he says that if United lose Pogba, they'll lose at least 50 million in annual revenue. He's talking about being a commercial asset. Now, this is the problem. This is the problem here. We don't want a commercial asset. We want a footballing asset. We want a player that wants to play at United and play tremendous football. We bought Pogba for this reason. Now, him coming out and saying, there's a contract on the table, and it doesn't. That was given by Richard Arnold, the current CEO, and it doesn't matter what Ralph or Eric Ten Hag think. Well, actually, yeah, it does. Ralph is the current manager. Eric Ten Hag is the next one. So of course it's their decision. Now, there was this whole charade about will Eric Ten Hag get the. Ultimately, he has the yes or no on who he signs and what player contracts there are and whatever. And apparently he was involved in the Bruno contract extension. Now, I'm sure they would have talked about this in the interview stage or even when he signed the contract and gone, look, there's an offer on the table for Pogba. What do you want to do about it? Should we retract that offer? What do you want to do? So I'm sure that conversation has happened. But Raiola has come out and like I said, he's very clever. He knows what he's talking about. And it also indicates to me that no other club is willing to take that risk either. No other club have come out and matched the offer or bettered the offer. And it clearly showed. I think, what was it? What was the contract? Was it like £400,000 a week or something like that?
According to reports, it was, but I always think the reports are worth taking with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, okay, right. So, to be honest, you're only going to get that money in the Premier League. You're only going to get that money there. You're not going to go to Italy and get that money. You're not going to go to Spain. And certainly you're not going to go to places like Real Madrid and Barcelona, which is where you would go. They can't afford that money. PSG perhaps, because they're obviously just cash rich anyway. But you're not hearing the murmurs with PSG. So I don't know. Look, if he signs a new deal and he comes out and Eric Ten Hag praises him and he starts to build a team around him, fair enough. I'll get behind him. I'm that type of fan that I hate slating players. I'll criticize them. I hate slating them. I'll get behind Pogba like I have done. If he goes, then fine. Look, you were here 5-6 years or 5 years or whatever. You won us a couple trophies. You scored in a final. Thank you very much. Off you go now. I'm kind of done with it, and it's the whole circus that rolls around him with his brother coming out and now Raiola. So I'm just kind of done with it. So it is what it is. If he stays, he stays. I'll support him. If he goes, I'm not going to be bitter about it, and just get on with it, really.
Marcus, your thoughts? What do you reckon? Last game? Is he here next season?
I think he's definitely played his last game for Manchester United. I can't see him staying beyond the summer. And if he did stay, I think that I would lose a bit of respect for him because I think we all know it would be because of Mino Raiola and the commercial reasons. And as a person who prides himself, at least from what he says, not through his agent, but what he says, he wants to win trophies. Whenever he's done interviews, he's talked about being an ambitious player. This is his chance to prove that. I don't think anybody can hold any grudges against a Manchester United player who's just fed up of the way the club's been run and fed up of the way they've been treated and wants to leave. Granted, Paul Pogba has brought some of this on himself, obviously, so I'm not defending him, but I'm just saying, if he was to leave, it would make a lot of sense. And even if his offer wasn't going to be matched elsewhere, I would wish him all the best. But if he stays and gets a monster contract, for me, that's not very good. That's not very good. Not to mention, he's been here for 5 years. He's been here for 5 years. I don't care whether it's Bruno, whether it's Ronaldo, whether it's Maguire, whoever it is. Once you've been here for 5 years, for me, you've had enough chances. Yes, whatever happened and whatever went wrong might not have been your fault, but you've got to be moved on. If you're not the solution, you're part of the problem. You might not be the biggest problem, but you're part of the problem if you're not the solution, as far as I'm concerned. And I think with Paul Pogba, I'm on the same side as Bainesy, man. I love him to death, but I'm tired. I can't be bothered anymore, you know. So I hope he does leave. I wish him all the best. I think he has played his last game for United, just to answer the question. I think he'll definitely be gone in the summer. I'll be very shocked if he stays. I'll be very shocked.
Stu's just getting a fly off his screen there.
No, I am indeed.
Stu, what do you think?
Pogba doesn't want to play for us anymore. He wants out. He wants to go back to Juventus. That's very, very clear. What the biggest issue is, Raiola knows if he goes to Juventus, Riola's pocket is going to be lighter. That's the whole issue around here. Pogba can dream for 400 grand a week if he wants. He was never going to get 400 grand a week at United. Never in a million years. Because he just hasn't earned it. He's not our biggest player. He certainly isn't our biggest draw. Absolutely no chance. So he was never in a million years going to get 400 grand a week. The paper might say it, Raiola might put that out there, but the more realistically, he'll get 250 tops, 270, whatever he's on at the minute. There won't be an increase. Because therein lies the problem with Raiola. So if I don't get an increase in salary, where's my money going to come? Where am I going to earn my little bit of bunts? So for me, it's all about what Riola's earning, not what Pogba can do to us. No footballer turns around and says, I will sign a contract if I want to, or I won't if I won't. No footballer does that. Because if any club allowed them to do that, there's only really Messi and Ronaldo that have been able to do that in the past. You know, look at the issues that PSG are having at the minute with Mbappe. I don't think Mbappe's had a good season by any stretch of imagination. But PSG know the commercial value to them, so they're willing to pay him 150 million signing on fee. And what is it? 700 grand a week or something stupid like that, and put it through the books some other way. For me, Pogba, he's not interested. He doesn't want to be here. He wants to go back to Juventus or go to France. That's what he will do. But the money side of it is all to do with Raiola. And Raiola is trying to line his pocket right now. He's doing everything he can to make sure he gets his 20 or 30 million quid, which he would be guaranteed if we'd sold Pogba 2 seasons ago for 70 million or whatever. And that's all it boils down to, I'm afraid, guys.
Well, I think you're right, actually, Stu. I think my my little theory was the whole quote said he's still got 4 weeks to decide, and that's where the money thing comes into it. I think the only place that he would get any kind of I'm talking Raiola here. I think the only time Raiola would get a sizable agent fee, let's call it, even though he's on a free technically, would be if he signed a new United contract, or if he went to PSG. I don't think he'd get anywhere close to what he would want at Juventus, simply because the money probably isn't there in the same aspect. I think he's very aware of how much money United have got through just being associated with them for however long. PSG have got more money than sense, so I think should he go there, Mino would be very happy about that. But I actually think there's I think he's played his last game, but part of me is worried that he will take these 4 weeks to see if PSG or Juventus come in for him, because he will have a contract lined up by the 1st of July when it officially is over. And if he hasn't got the team he wants, say by the 25th of June, I think there's and that so-called United contract offer is still on the table. I think he could sign it, and it would worry me that, and I think I'd lose a lot more respect for him, to be honest. I think he's going to take his time.
If Riola's a decent agent, Cal, which he reckons he is, he'll have contracts already to sign.
You'll have a number of clubs.
Well, this is what I mean. I think Pogba would like to hope so, but I do think he's probably still going to take the next few weeks to actually see, because he might have a number of clubs, but they might not have the same contract United have written down for him.
Oh no, he's not getting the money from Juventus. Juventus can't afford 200 grand a week.
Exactly.
Alone,
so
yeah.
I think the most likely place for him is PSG, but we've not heard that many murmurings. And there's the talks of Pogba going to Real Madrid, and I think there's more chance of me playing starting quarterback for the New England Patriots.
Madrid have got bigger fish.
Being Tom Brady's full-time replacement
Pogba,
than him going to Real Madrid.
Bigger needs than Pogba. Madrid have.
Yeah.
So they don't need him. Bayern don't need him. Barcelona don't need. Well, Barcelona maybe, but he's not going to get the money at Barcelona.
Barcelona have been a lot with all the free transfers, so that is a possible shout, I guess.
Yeah.
So we've gone on for an hour and 5 minutes now, guys. So we'll do one more topic because I'm tired and I have a job. So, and I'm sure everyone else does. So we'll have one more topic and then we'll call it a night. I hope everyone's enjoyed. Keep commenting, and I hope you've all enjoyed the show anyway. Keep commenting, keep getting involved. Every single comment that I've seen from every single separate person, go over to YouTube, Off United YouTube account, and like this video. That would be great because it would show the powers that be at this channel that I am the best host that they've got. We'll finish with Bruno Fernandes, I think, mainly because I saw him today. I saw him at Noses Safari Park with his family. We'll start with Bruno. Obviously, last season he scored 28 goals for us. This season he's only had 9. It has been a bit of a strange season for him. I still don't think he's been as bad as a lot of people make out. I'm sick of these ideas that he's a hero ball merchant and things like that. I'm so sick of all these new phrases that have come into football over the past couple of years. Hero ball merchant, a register, all these silly crap things. I mean, worst one is no tactics, just vibes. A lot of people called Solskjaer that, and it instantly made me want to just poke you in the eye. So, what do we reckon? Has Bruno been as bad as made out, or are we expecting a huge improvement next season? Go on, James. I'll let you go first because I've not done that yet.
I think there's balance to be had. Obviously, he's nowhere near the level we know he can be this season. Especially his first season and a half were just ridiculous. I think arguably like one of the best 18-month periods a midfielder's had in this league. It's gone massively under the radar just how good he was. But this season, as you said, it's been not up to standard, not up to his standard. But cast your mind back to the summer before we signed him, when we were about to sign him and we didn't. And there was talks that we'd sort of turned him down because our scouts thought he gave the ball away too much. Remember how angry people were that they were like, it doesn't matter if he gives the ball away that much. He's going to get you 30 goal involvements a season. Like it's going to be worth it. And now people are angry that his risky style gives the ball away quite a lot, which I get. Quite a lot of the time at the minute it can be frustrating because it's avoidable the way he's giving the ball away. But to counter that, you look at chances created this season. Bruno Fernandes in a bad season still sits 5th, maybe 4th. In an underperforming Manchester United team when he himself is underperforming as well. Obviously, bringing Ronaldo in, while we thought it would help him, I think mentally it's probably not been that good for him. I think he really thrived on being the focal point of this team, being the best player in this team, and now he's not. And I think having penalties taken off him.
I disagree with that.
It goes both ways because he seems burdened by the captain's armband, but then I think you see on the pitch he's playing frustrated because he's not the one that's making things happen. He can't make things happen because we're so unstable. And you see him, he's having to drop to the halfway line. He's trying to find holes in the defence. He's got to be everywhere because the team isn't stable enough to get the ball to him in the areas that he needs it. So we're seeing an angry Bruno Fernandes, and that's why we're seeing him give the ball away so much, why he's not playing up to his standard. He's playing frustrated. He's trying things that he probably shouldn't. And it's just a culmination of things. I think if you can get a stable side around him, I think we'll see the best of Bruno Fernandes again. If you get a manager who is going to give him an exact role, I think it's hard to see what Ranić actually wants Bruno Fernandes to do at the minute, given that players are around him, the instability of the team selections and stuff like that. So undoubtedly, he's not been at his best this season. He's been a very, very frustrating player to watch. But I definitely wouldn't say that the first 18 months were a fluke. I think we're much more likely to see the old Bruno Fernandes than we are to continue seeing him the way he is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd go with that last comment. Actually, I think the first Bruno Fernandes we saw is the real one. It's not been his best season, but I think the best comment I just saw was this one. I'll take that because it could have been worse. 9 goals and 6 assists in a team that has just been so poor. I think so many different variables have surrounded him. Confidence, everyone else not playing well. All the talk of the manager, the protests, just everything I think has come to fruition with the entire team. That has probably not helped with anyone's confidence and anyone's form, I guess. And just as well, Jarvis, I'm not as grumpy as I usually am tonight because the comments haven't annoyed me that much tonight. They've actually been they've actually made quite a lot of sense. A couple annoyed me, but I called them out. But most of you have actually been really good. So I've agreed with most of you, and it's actually been really good debate in the comments, which is
there's some good debates in the comments. Yeah.
So that's really happy to see. No one seems to be calling each other twats either, which is nice as well. Speaking of twats, Baines here, what do you think?
You dick. So for me, obviously, Jack said it about this. 9 goals, 6 assists. That's only in the league. I think he had 7 assists in the UCL, and I think I had a couple goals there as well. So look, it's a bad season, but for who else is it a good season? Maybe you can put in Ronaldo. He's had a good season. No one else has really played that well. So, and he's still, his numbers are still okay. James, that point about the risk, before we signed him, that stat about how our scouts didn't like him. You're right. Everyone was screaming for a creative risk taker in the team, someone that will just pick the ball up in a number 10 and float and just try something, try and create, try and be the busy one in there. And the thing is with Bruno is his position, his role in the team is very, very dependent on what options he has and how others around him play. Now, you've got an out of form Marcus Rashford. You have, Ronaldo's there and he will create and he will score goals, as we've seen. You've got Sancho, who's coming from a new league. You've got Alanga, who's just been promoted from the youth. Obviously, number 11 is not there anymore. Martial's gone out on loan. So all of his known attacking ranks are either not up to par this season or they're new and they're fresh and they're young. So you've got to give him a bit of slack. His numbers have been terrific over the last 2 years, and all this hero ball, and he gives the ball away too much, and he does this and he does that. It's a perfect comment earlier. We had Pereira. Before this, and everyone was moaning about him, and he's not the creative spark, and he can't do this and he can't do that. I'm sorry, I can't. When I see all this comparison on Twitter about he's not a big game player and he doesn't score in the big games and he doesn't create in the big games or whatever it is, right? Just ask them a simple question and go, what do you think he doesn't do in the actual games that you call him, a hero ball merchant or this or not a big game player? What has he been doing in the games? Because half of these people don't actually know. They're just following a trend. They're just following a trend on Twitter, and we've seen it all the time. I think he'll come good. He'll come good in a decent system. He'll come good when there's a bit more confidence flowing in the team. Every last season and when he signed the season before, everything he touched turned to gold. There's a bit of a fall off. Okay, fine. About the Ronaldo coming in, I don't think it really affected him too much. I think his creation numbers are still really high. So that's fine. But for me, it's just a bad season. Just forget about it. New manager coming in, reset, go again, and hopefully we get that Bruno back with everyone else firing around him as well. So he's fine. There's nothing wrong with him.
Marcus, is Bruno Fernandes the greatest midfielder United have ever had?
Well, I wouldn't go that far, and everybody knows how much I love Bruno. Anyone who's a long-term viewer of this channel knows how much I love Bruno. So this might shock a lot of people, but I do think he's actually had a bad season. But it's about balance. A lot of people are trying to turn a bad season into he's a bad player, and I don't agree with that because he clearly isn't a bad player. No, he doesn't deserve to play in the championship. Like those comments, they've stopped annoying me actually because I'm immune. I'm immune to the frustration, but it's just silly. Because players go through waves of form all the time. And I think Manchester United fans are way too extreme. You can still recognize the bad elements of someone's game and then compliment the good elements. For example, he does get a lot of goals. He does get a lot of assists. He does also create a lot of chances. But that's only 3 elements of his entire game. The things that he doesn't do right is he's too erratic when he takes the ball off of whether it's McTominay, Fred, or the back 4 at times when he drops extremely deep. Yes, it's good to take risks. Yes, we had Pereira and Lingard in the midfield, but don't forget, Pereira and Lingard was so unbelievably bad that almost any 10 we would have signed who's a specialist at that role would have shined, right? Like, so let's not lower our standards just because we were that frustrated at Pereira and Lingard. The other elements of his game do need to improve. I've always said about Bruno Fernandes, it's not an issue of technical ability. We know what he's capable of. We know he's got an amazing passing range. We know he's capable of scoring goals, and we know he's capable of creating beautiful chances. We also know that based on his time at Sporting, he is capable of playing deep in the midfield because he was used as an 8 at times for Sporting. A lot of people don't know that. He didn't just play as a 10. So Bruno Fernandes is a versatile player, and he can do a lot of things, but he needs specialism. He needs a manager who's going to come in and tell him, listen, dude, you can't just do whatever the hell you want. This is what I specifically want you to do. And I want you to work on this until you are a master of it. Don't be a jack of all trades. Be a master of a group of specific things. And you will see the best version of Bruno Fernandes. I think under Oli, yes, I'm not one of these people that says Oli had no tactics because I think that's just taking it too far. I think Oli did have tactics, but I think his tactics were very direct. He wanted a player who was going to get the ball and move it up the field. Oli, there's even a famous video actually of Oli yelling, I think when he was coaching Mulder or a team before he came to Manchester United, and he was losing his shit. He was telling them, why are you passing the effing ball about the box? Take a shot. So Oli's clearly a manager who loves direct play.
Marcus. I think that was United. He did it to Lingard in the derby.
It was Mulder.
Yeah,
it was Mulder.
Was it Mulder?
It might have happened twice.
He definitely did it at United as well.
Yeah. So the point I'm trying to make is I think the reason why we saw the best of him under Oli is because he thrived in that system where he was a player who was direct. He wasn't afraid to play the passes. And even if he played 6 bad passes, you knew the 7th one was going to be on the money. And we'd forgive him because that was the whole point. I mean, Ryan Giggs was the same according to a lot of older fans. I listen to a lot of older fans, and you guys are welcome to correct me if I'm wrong. But a lot of people used to say that Ryan Giggs used to be a very frustrating player because he would try to dribble past people, but he wouldn't get past them all the time. In fact, more often than not, he would mess it up. But then the 7th time, the 8th time, the 9th time, he got past them and he did something amazing, and you forgave him because that's what you want out of a United player. You want them to keep on trying and not give up. And so I think with Bruno, there's a bit of balance that's needed. Yes, be a risk taker. Yes, try to do something. Don't be too passive. Don't play too many sideways passes. But you got to know when to do that. And when you're in bad form, you can't try play yourself out of it by playing, a 30-yard ball over the top, trying to be a magician. You've got to simplify your game. And that's my only criticism of Bruno Fernandes is that recently I feel like he's become too erratic. I feel like he's trying to do too much. I mean, even off the ball, he runs around like a headless chicken sometimes, He would be so much more efficient if he just paid attention to what's going on around him and just tried to fill in the gaps as opposed to trying to do everything, And on the point of Ronaldo potentially being part of the deficiency of Bruno, I do agree with that. I'm not saying that Ronaldo's the problem, so nobody take this out of context, but Ronaldo has become the main source of goals. That wasn't there before Ronaldo got here. Yes, Cavani was chipping in every now and then, but we didn't have a main focal point apart from Bruno. Now that Ronaldo's there, he is the focal point, and so obviously there's going to be a decrease in his stats. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But that's why that's happened. I think if Ronaldo wasn't here, Bruno would still be getting just as many goals and just as many assists, and we'd still be having the same old merry-go-round debates about whether or not he's taking too many risks. But that's just my personal opinion.
Lovely. Nice. Do you know what, Marcus? You've changed you. I used to disagree with quite a lot of what you said, but tonight you've said everything perfect.
He likes you now, Marcus. Well done.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, you won't be surprised, fellas, that I've got a different viewpoint to it all, as per usual. And,
of course,
there's 2 things. First of all, Bruno is
Stu Goldbridge, they call you.
Yeah, Bruno is guilty of not tweaking his game. There's absolutely no two ways about it. But here's the main thing that, unfortunately, most fans forget about. And he's playing professional footballers week in and week out. And what professional footballers have are eyes. What they do is they study and they understand what players are doing. Funnily enough, though, we don't seem to do that, but most other teams do. And what they've done is they work out a player. They work out where he likes to take the ball. If they've studied him properly, they'll know whether he likes to take it on his left foot or his right foot. Is he good in the air? Isn't he good in the air? Can he hold him back into a player? Can he do this? Can he do that? What Bruno is guilty of is his spatial awareness. And before everybody jumps down my throat, I'm not talking about his passing awareness. I'm talking about his spatial awareness. And sometimes, more often than not, and this is where Scholes was absolutely brilliant, more often than not, Bruno will walk into a congested area rather than step away from congested area to allow him to take the ball and utilize the ball. Scholes was an absolute master of it. He would know 2 or 3 passes in advance where he needs to end up. If he sprayed it wide, he'll know where he needs to be. And what he used to do, he used to plot the course in and around so that he'd always have space around him. Bruno doesn't. Bruno walks into a congested area. If he can eradicate that out of his game, if he can tweak it slightly different, so if he does, I'm spitballing by the way that he takes on his left foot. I'm just using that as an example of, players noticing what certain players do. If he does take it on his left, start taking it on your right. Start moving over to the left side more than the right side more. Because if you watch Bruno, he tends to play more from centre to right than he does centre to left. So mix your game up. And that's how you rediscover your form in many ways. So that's my take on it. And it's a strange take, I know, and I accept people won't like it and won't agree with me. But players, they know what they're doing. If you're a master of your art and you know you're playing against Bruno, you should study every aspect of his game. You should be able to second guess what he's going to do before he's even guessed himself what he's going to do. And that gives you the advantage. And that's what's happening.
Right, so let's move on to our final topic. It's going to be a very quick
Carl's got no answer to that. Absolutely no. Cheers, Carl. He's got nothing.
I gave my answer at the start, so I just wanted to move on because it's late now, isn't it?
You know what I'm getting, don't you, Marcus?
This is literally quick fire, 20 seconds. Everyone in the comments, what position do we need to improve on the most? And what player would you sign for that position? James, go.
Holding midfielder, Tchouaméni. He's very good defensively. He's very good at progressing the ball.
It is like,
yeah,
it's like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Come on, you're cutting into my 20 seconds.
Sorry. Go on.
He is the younger Matic that we've been on about that we need for so long. That's him as a player. Progresses the ball, can beat a man. Very, very good defensively. That's it. Tchouaméni sorts out our midfield, I think.
FYI, that would be mine. Bainesy, what about you?
Left back, right back, centre to the 2 centre backs, the goalkeeper. No, I'm joking. I agree with James. Tchouaméni is how I pronounce it. So Tchouaméni. He's really good. I've seen some really, really good stuff on him. But yeah, wholeheartedly agree. That is probably the main position right now.
Marcus, what about you?
I was going to say Tchouaméni, but I don't want to be boring, so I'm going to spice it up and say Calvin Phillips. Why not? He's an improvement on the Fred. But yeah, I think by far central defensive midfield is the most important area. Behind that is the fullbacks, then centre back. I think we need another centre back, and then we can look at a striker. So I hope we don't blow £100 million on Harry Kane this summer, because I'm going to lose. I'm going to pull my hair out if we go and do that. It would be typical of United to blow £100 million on a player that we don't actually need. Who is great, by the way. Like, don't get me wrong, Harry Kane's amazing, but it doesn't solve our issues. So, anyways.
I'd agree with that. I also hope we don't do that on Declan Rice as well. Stu, what about you?
No, we won't get Declan Rice.
Yeah, well, I was going to go CDM, and I would have gone Tchouaméni as well, however you pronounce him, from Monaco, because I do like him. What I like about him is his stride. His stride is unbelievable. He can get across the ground. He looks languid, but my God, he can move. So I quite like him. Somebody mentioned Sangare as well. If I was going to throw something out there, And I think, by the way, Jarvis asked about would our fullback start under Ten Hag. And I would say Aaron Wan-Bissaka will. And the only reason I say that is because, at kind of the very beginning of his coaching, when I think it was at Utrecht, he played a straight 4-4-2. And if he does do that, I'd like to see him bring Anthony in. And I think that'd be quite a good, solid right side for us.
Oh, yeah, that's a very good point, actually, regarding Wan-Bissaka and Anthony. I think I think we're all in kind of a consensus there that this number 6 is probably the number 1 position we need to improve on. I'll throw a spanner in. I think Nkunku from Leipzig, right wing. I think he could be another shout for the right wing as well.
I think we're absolutely butchering these names, by the way. Well,
Yeah,
I know
we
I
are.
am.
Well, that's just we're all English, aren't we? So that's why.
We are.
Right,
We are
guys.
butchering these names.
I'm going to call it a night because I'm knackered, and I think everyone else is too.
Yeah.
So I hope you all enjoyed the show. Thanks for getting involved in the comments. It was quite a fun little show, that, actually, and everyone seemed to be quite interactive, and some good debates were going on as well. So appreciate that all, and hopefully, if Ben wants me to, I'll do another show at some stage. If not, and if you all want me to come back, let him know, because he's the owner. So then maybe we'll get some proper good hosts on here for a change. Isn't that right, James?
I would argue against it, but back off.
Well, to be fair, Carl, you
Fair
wouldn't have
enough.
forgotten me, would you?
You are?
You wouldn't have forgotten me, would you, pal?
No, exactly. Of course not. Right, guys. Appreciate your support tonight. Go like and subscribe.
Cheers.
Follow all
Thank
the
you,
guys
boys.
here on Twitter. They do some good stuff as well. Thanks for that, guys. See you later.